Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Mark Hyde
and Chris Fuller.
And on today's episode of Real Talk Christian, we're talking about one of the 7 deadly sins. That sin is pride. Fuller, you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. Welcome back, Sir Fuller.
What's going on, Mark?
Sir Fuller. We're going to start doing Sir Fuller now.
Sir Knights Fuller.
Pretty much. Do you feel like a sir or do you feel like a madam?
I mean, if those are my only two choices.
Oh, goodness. So what's been good in the Fuller household, bro? How the 3 babies doing? How's the wife doing?
Doing fairly well, man.
I feel like we haven't done a check-in in a while.
How about you, Beth, and the 7 kids?
I'm tired, bro.
7 kids.
7 kids. I'm tired, man. And 3 of them are all like within 6 months of each other, and they're all 2.
So when you think life is bad, just remember Mark Hyde.
It's not that bad. No, it's a different time. It's learning how to adjust in the seasons and new living places and trying to get my house for sale and then trying to get that house up to code and not up to code, but just up to specs.
Updated.
Just updated to be where you need to have freaking 7 kids in one house.
7 kids.
But let's be honest, Beth is the real saint because I just go up to my office and work.
What did I say when we had her on the podcast for the very first time we first had a conversation?
I really don't know.
I said something like, man, guys, if you're single out there.
You did. You were getting all up in her business.
I was. Hey, but look what happened.
It happened.
Matchmaker, make me a match.
Whatever. Well, hey, RTC family, welcome back to the show. We've been doing something the last little bit. I know we're talking about pride, and you're like, you're not supposed to be prideful, not talking about yourself. But we've been talking about ourselves on RTC to help the people get to know us a little bit, to get inside our brains, just because we have listeners all over the world. I mean, South Africa, which we shipped a DVD to. Northern Ireland, which we shipped a chosen DVD to. We got people in the UK. We got people in India. We got people in Canada. We got people all over the US. We got people in Latin America. Like,
I don't see it as
what is happening, man.
I don't see it as we have people. We get to experience extra family.
That's true. That's true.
It's extensions of our family, and I'm very happy that I have family all over the world. It's great. It's great to know.
And it's cool because, there's so many people out there that like when we first were like, let's start a podcast like 2 years ago, I never knew it was going to explode like this, man.
Well, it was like, hey, we're talking about this stuff, and man, more people probably should have these conversations.
And it happened.
And not necessarily that we want to run the show or we would just, when you don't send us ideas for podcast ideas, we just have to come up on our own and apparently find wives while we're doing it. Well, me, wife, individual, single one. You already had yours.
I
already had mine. No polygamy here.
Well, here's a fun question for people to get to know us a little bit. This is a softball. We're gonna up it to 2 things. What are 2 things that you need to have at your fridge at any given time?
Swing and a miss.
So what are 2 things that are always found in your fridge?
Well,
and I'm not talking about Bachelor Fuller fridge. We're talking about
family Fuller fridge. So 2 things: cheese and milk.
Really? So you guys are dairy heavy family.
My kids love cheese and milk. My wife Janelle loves cheese. I love cheese. I like milk, but I've cut way back on the milk and on the cheese for health reasons.
So for your own personal fridge, if I say, here, buddy, here's a mini fridge, what would you put in that thing?
Man, probably
besides coffee creamer.
Trying to think. I mean, probably going to be like a yogurt, and probably apples.
Oh,
I like cold apples.
Okay. So apples was one of mine. Hot dogs were the other one. I always have apples and hot dogs. Always.
See, I like hot dogs, but I'm not always in the mood for hot dogs. So it's like, it's hit or miss. It's like once every 6 to 8 months, I'm like, I want hot dogs.
Mondays are hot dog days at Mark's house. Mondays for lunch. That's what we did because we were running to speech therapy. And then I had a work meeting right away. So my boss even made a joke one time, or one of the agencies I work for. He was like, I haven't heard your son ask for a hot dog yet. I'm like, yeah, because I gave him 2 before this conversation, not just once. We wouldn't go ask me for another hot dog mid phone call. But okay, here's another rabbit trail question.
Okay.
Are you kind of a bit of a brand bougie when it comes to apples? Like you have a very specific brand that you want?
There's 2 that are the better tasting. I will eat just about any apple.
Even Red Delicious?
Even Red Delicious. But there's 2 favorites.
Okay.
I have favorites.
Okay.
I'm not bougie, but I have 2 favorites. And that's going to be Honeycrisp or the Fuji.
See, Honeycrisp are solid, but Pink Ladies.
Yeah,
I cannot go. See, here's the deal.
They're all right.
You cannot do a Pink Lady not in the fridge. They're not good when they're warm.
Yeah, they have. I mean, it's like
got to be cold.
A Honeycrisp is really good in the fridge, but it's still edible outside.
It's still good outside the fridge, but when you pop that Honeycrisp and the juice just comes out, like
when it squirts you in the eye with juice when you bite into it, that's how you know it's a good Honeycrisp.
And see, I like Pink Ladies because it got that extra little tart.
See, it's got the tart, but it's kind of like. The texture is a little weird. It's like a mushy texture almost rather than a crisp.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's a crispy outside, but the inside's a little soft on it.
Yes, yeah, and it's okay. I'll eat it, but it's not my favorite. I like the crisp.
You like I like the crunch of that apple.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go.
That was kind of a weird conversation how to start the podcast with hot dogs and apples.
We're a couple of weird dudes.
Speaking of weird dudes, guys. This man's not drinking coffee this episode.
It's the bubbly.
The bubbly's back.
But it's the, not the alcoholic bubbly beverage. It's the 0 calories.
It's not White Claw. He's not basic white girl.
It's the watermelon sparkling water.
But bubbly brand. It's got to be bubbly brand for you. Or AHA.
No.
Or AHA. Remember AHA Fuller?
I can... I'm to the point where I can have LaCroix now.
You can do LaCroix now.
I don't know what brand it was with Brandon Soche the other day, but he gave me a lime one, and it was delicious. It was just straight up lime, sparkling water.
It wasn't Kroger brand, was it?
I don't know what brand it was.
Kroger brands it sometimes.
I don't know what brand it was, but it was good. It was like, this is hitting the spot.
Well, Soche, you got to let us know. But since your boy over here is drinking coffee, I went a little bougie on my coffee tonight. I'm drinking Onyx Monarch.
He's drinking that expensive stuff.
Yep, it was a gift for Christmas. I'm not that rich. I had to buy Folgers for the other house, and I'm grieving. It's okay.
We'll pray.
7 kids is very nuts. It's nuts. But either way, so the Monarch from Onyx. This is what I think is really interesting. Here's the flavor notes. You ready?
Ready.
Dark chocolate, molasses, red wine, dried berries, and it's thick and syrupy.
So it's got a semi-bitter but semi-sweet with a floral aroma.
Yeah, and it kind of has that lingering taste, that lingering dark chocolate.
That Velveeta, kind of velvety, it almost coats your mouth type of thing, yeah. That's cool.
But it's not as harsh as the Peru stuff. It's a lot more gentle.
Well, the Peru stuff, it depends on how you take it. I mean, if it's darker, it's going to be a lot more bitter.
Right. I'm talking about the straight stuff from Joe.
Yeah, now
that stuff was thick.
It was good, but it was like thick as mud. But it was good. I mean, Joe, I'm ready for. That's the only reason why I want you to go down is so I can.
Not to tell people about Jesus, but to bring us back coffee.
Joe, I need some coffee, Joe.
Or any listener can send us coffee.
Anyone
can just reach out to us.
We're accepting of all coffee.
Not Maxwell's house.
It's the only universalism you'll hear from us.
Yep. Besides well, I don't touch Maxwell's house. I don't come near that stuff with a 6-foot pole.
I don't like it, but I'll drink it.
It messes me up, man. Like in church, we had it for a little bit. There's a reason why our church actually has good coffee now.
I told you, I would sit there
and it was just like
the church just needs to buy me a big coffee roaster. I will roast coffee for the church.
Dude, okay, check this out. So I ordered a massive amount of coffee because our church was kicking through coffee like crazy, and we did it through Kingdom Roasters, where all the proceeds went to digging wells over. But it was a Jesus-based ministry. It's super cool. We bought a crap load of coffee. COVID hit 2 weeks later after we got it.
Dope.
So we literally just have bags of coffee chilling at the church, and they've been there for a year.
Oh man, they're all stale.
I feel like we should just jack it and then just see what it tastes like. You know what I'm saying?
We should just ask Scott, "Hey, can we take a little bit of this because we want to preview it on the podcast?"
I might just talk with Steph about it because it's going to go to waste. You know,
just say here.
It's going to be super stale.
We'll give you guys another plug-in like we always
do. Super stale. But either way, anyways. So moving on to the reviews, we got another review, bro.
Wow,
we got another one. This one is from January 5th.
I like his title.
Goonie vibe?
Goonie vibe. The Goonies.
Okay. There's a little piece of me where I was like, did you create another account under a fake email?
No, it wasn't me. That's funny.
Because you had the Goonie shirt.
It said David W. from North Carolina. Why would I lie about that?
Because it says Goonie vibe. Unless he might legit have a Goonie vibe. But I feel like we just dropped the episode with you wearing your Goonie shirt.
Probably.
At the same time. So I'm like, what's even happening right now with this Goonie vibe?
Maybe.
But either way, so David W. from North Carolina says, awesomeness. I like that word. Not just awesome, but awesomeness. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but this is the one that I keep coming back to. They tackle real life with real talk, but not without the real word of God. Yo, is that our new tagline? Tackle real life with real talk, but not without the real word of God. That might be a new tagline for RTC. With their mix of nonsense, bro.
he put humor.
He put humor
and
yeah, with our mix of nonsense and discipleship style commentary, you definitely laugh while you learn. Not to mention, there is an exaltation of coffee for this show. For me, is a no-brainer. A must listen. Well, me and the Onyx, we say thank you, my dude.
And me and the Bubbly say hello.
I mean, when you got to go to bed and wake up to take care of the kids the next morning.
Yeah.
I'm risking it for the biscuit.
And it's 9:45 at night.
I just really wanted some of this stuff. So either way, dude, we are jumping into you think we should make this a series of conversation?
We kind of talked about it last week, and we've talked about, hey, maybe we won't do it like consecutively, but maybe hit on it every once in a while. That way it just piques people. You never know what it's going to pop up. When a deadly sin's going to pop up on your life,
You could be sitting there eating your second round of Taco Bell, and we could be talking about gluttony.
Right then.
You never know.
Right. Ooh, Taco Bell. That sounds good. Sorry. Anyways, we're not
Should
talking.
Should we make a late night run after this to go get some T-Bell?
I got to go home. I got kids.
I feel like one episode we need to be sponsored. We need to have T-Bell right here on our table instead of coffee.
We should just eat T-Bell and just
while we talk. T-Bell and talk.
Keep muting each other.
T-Bell and talk, so you don't hear the smacking of the lips. But either way, David W.
Thanks, David.
Why did I go back to David about that?
David, thank you.
Coffee. But either way,
David.
So we mentioned last week we're talking about pride. This week, maybe we'll bring some in. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll do some gluttony. I don't know why I said thank you to David W. 10 seconds ago. That's just where my brain went.
I said it too, so
that's whatever. We're talking about pride this week.
We're like talking about pride. Thank you, David. Wow.
Oh, goodness, bro.
Oh, wow. It's a late night.
It is. Well, anyways, hey, dude, let's start this thing off.
Let's talk about pride. Sorry.
This is great.
So we'll start off with a quote. Maybe to bring us in here.
I like it. I like my quotes.
So St. Augustine, and if you don't know who he is, he's a church father from the 5th century, 4th century?
Something like that. St. Augustine of Hippo.
Of Hippo, right. Yes, correct, sir.
St. Augustine, he's my boy.
Gold star for you.
He's the original Calvin. He's the original Calvinist.
Yeah, he's had some other messed up theology, but that's all right.
He did, yeah.
We all make mistakes.
Everybody makes
mistakes. Except for Mark. So, St. Augustine of Hippo says, it was pride that changed angels into devils. It is humility that makes men as angels. So we're going to kind of talk. I know, we're talking about pride, but there's an opposite of pride, and it's humility, and we'll kind of dive a little tiny bit into that.
I'm thinking about quotes. No, this one popped in my head while we were just talking about it.
Don't steal my quotes.
Because C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity, I remember him talking about pride. That's what I was searching up real quick. And he wrote in his book, here it is. It says, it was through pride that the devil, It was through pride that the devil became the devil. Pride leads to every other vice. It is the complete anti-God state of mind.
Yeah, I almost used that one. But
did you? Because when you were reading that one about Augustine, about angels and the devils, I'm like, ooh, C.S. Lewis got a quote like that too.
So that means C.S. Lewis ripped off
St. Basically. But either way, so pride is what knocks Satan down. Yeah. It's what turns angels into devils, and it's what could kill us potentially too, that apparently.
Right. So, let's talk about a little bit of the danger.
Well, should we talk about what pride is? Like, what even is pride, in case someone doesn't have a good idea?
Well, go for it.
Okay.
I'll let you explain it. I don't want to be.
It's hard to explain. It's pride's one of those things where I feel like it's really easy to call other people out on their pride, but it's hard to see yourself being prideful.
I think it was. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Bill Mounts that said this.
Bill Mounts. I don't know who that is.
Bill Mounts is a phenomenal teacher. He's got seminary classes on a website called biblicaltraining.org. It's the ones that I've been going through that he offers for free.
What was that again? I'm going to put that link in the show notes.
Biblicaltraining.org. And I'm going through his New Testament survey, which is the second one, the second class that is in this course. And and he said something that pride is basically the self-focus of what you think that you deserve and the non-focus of others. It was something along those lines. That's not a direct quote, but it's along those lines of like, you're not focusing on others, you're only focusing on yourself.
So like, I deserve this. Right. I deserve better. Right. I deserve for this respect. Yeah. I deserve because of just for some reason you think you deserve it.
Right. I deserve it, or I don't deserve the way you are treating me, or however. Yeah.
So it's elevating yourself to a level at which people need to bow down to you?
Sure, you can go that route. I mean, yeah, it's kind of making yourself a type of an idol. I don't want to take it quite that far, but it could be.
But basically, it blinds us from loving other people well because we're too focused on ourselves.
It does, and the sad thing is, and we kind of talked about it a little bit before the podcast. Most sins, a lot of sins that happen, originate from a pride. And I was kind of sharing with you some of my own struggles. I recently, a brother brought something to me about that he saw a little pride in me on something that was said, and me myself, I'm struggling what that means, what that is in my life. Where is there pride in my life? Because we read all sorts of scripture. I mean, the Proverbs alone is riddled with scriptures on pride, and we're going to dig into a few of those in a little bit. But pride is something that destroys rather than uplifts, and it's something that God does not like. And so it's a self-examination process for me right now. So this is going to be a little bit of a more difficult conversation for me because I'm in the midst of dealing with myself on this issue. So, but I think that it's a conversation that needs to happen because there is a danger in pride. So, we kind of talked a little bit about what pride is and what pride. We're going to talk about a little bit.
We talk about what the potential is. If we're saying that's what made Satan.
Right. And the opposite of that is humility or humbleness or whatever you want to call it, and that makes men angels, according to St. Augustine. And so there is a little bit of a back and forth play there. But what's some of the dangers in pride? I did another quote from Michael Eric Dyson, and I'm not 100% sure of who he is, but I did like what he had to say in an article that I was reading. And he describes pride this way. He said, of the 7 deadly sins, theologians and philosophers reserve a special place for pride. Lust, envy, anger, greed, gluttony, and sloth are all bad, the sages say, but pride is the deadliest of all, the root of all evil, and the beginning of sin. But then there's parental pride in one's work, pride for your school or your city or your country. Of the deadly sins, pride is most likely to stir debate about whether it's a sin at all. And I thought that was very thought-provoking. It's very thought-provoking because he brought up a couple interesting things like, is pride in your parental style good or bad? Is pride in your work good or bad? Is pride in your school, city, country? Any of those, are those bad or are they good?
Well, no. I mean, you got to have pride in your work to say that you're doing a good job of what you're doing.
But do you? Because are we self-edifying? Are we self-uplifting, I guess is a better way to put it, in saying that? This quote got me thinking a lot. That's why I put it in here. It's very thought-provoking, and it's It's a good conversation piece.
I'm chewing over this last sentence where it says, of all the deadly sins, pride is most likely to stir debate about whether it's even a sin at all.
Right.
Like, we know gluttony is a sin. We know arrogance is a sin. We know, what are the other 7 deadly sins?
Well, we listed lust, envy, anger, greed, gluttony, and sloth are the other 6.
Like those make the most sense when it comes to a sin, but yeah, pride's a bit of a different one. Do you think it's because we have different definitions for pride?
Let's look at it. Let's look at lust.
Okay.
Lust. Could pride be the originator of lust?
Okay, so lust is looking after something or someone. Normally we think specifically of someone.
Well,
sexual
lust is a sexual thing.
Right.
Envy is something of a possession.
Well, but lust is lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life. Like, I think there's different levels of lust. But lust is pretty much, you want that for your own pleasure.
Here's why I separate lust and envy, though.
Okay.
Because the very next deadly sin is envy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm saying lust is more, I think, referred to as a sexual kind of covetousness.
Oh, I would say 90%, yeah. And it's because you want that.
Right. So could it be derived from pride?
I deserve that.
I deserve that. I deserve that woman. I deserve that man. I would think so.
I mean, we see that with affairs all the time, where I deserve better, or I deserve not to do this way, or
I deserve
this isn't the life I mean, even I was watching Madam Secretary. I'm always watching Madam Secretary, or listen. I actually listened to it on my drive today. That's what I do.
Hey,
but one of the things was the fact of, like, I know this is the job that you signed up for, but I don't know if I want to do this anymore. That was one person's spouse, and they ended up getting a divorce over it.
Right.
And now, granted, that's a whole different conversation, but the answer was, I don't want this anymore.
Right, because I don't want it.
Right.
So let's look at the next one.
Affairs happen and other things like that.
Let's look at envy now. So I want your headphones.
Well, you bought them for me, so thank you.
No, the podcast bought them.
That's true.
But
so envy is wanting something you don't have that someone else has.
Yeah, so can pride be derived?
Oh, for sure.
Envy be derived. So, okay.
So you're elevating yourself to the point that you deserve that.
So how about anger?
Okay.
So say you're angry about something. Come up with a scenario where you might be angry.
My kid disobeyed.
Okay.
I get really angry when I look at you to do something. You make eye contact with, not you, but my kid, and then you do the exact opposite. Okay. That just,
but why?
Because I'm the dad. You need to listen to me.
So is there pride in that?
Oh, for sure.
Right, because you're the dad and you want your kid to listen because you think that.
And then on the flip side, if my kid doesn't listen to me in public, that hurts my pride because it looks like I'm a bad dad.
Right.
Instead of looking like a good dad.
I'm right there with you. I mean, I deal with it all
I don't
the time
look like
with
an
my
idiot.
kids. I mean, we got young kids and it's like, man, I feel like they're making me look like a bad parent.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's not us, we're bad parents. We're just raising little sinners. That's what it is.
All right. So we'll say, and there's righteous anger, so I'm not saying all anger is derived from pride. I'm not saying that.
The Bible says be angry and sin not.
Again,
so you can be angry and not sin.
Right. So I'm just that's a whole nother good one.
So maybe it's this, all right? So in Luke, is it Luke? Where it's in Luke where it talks about the fruit and the root and talks about a good tree only can produce good fruit and a bad tree can only produce bad fruit.
Right.
So is this the idea of all these fruits that we're seeing are a result of pride in some way, shape, or form?
Is that the root?
Right. Is the root pride?
That's why I was kind of wanting to go through some of these six other deadly sins, because we look at greed. Greed is I deserve this and I want this and I'm going to get this.
And sloth is the opposite of I deserve
not to do this.
Not to do this.
And then we look at gluttony and it's like
I deserve that Twinkie.
I deserve to eat whatever I want because it's my body and I get to say over my body.
My Taco Bell or my body doesn't always like Taco Bell.
Where have we heard that before? It's my body and I deserve this. So I think there's potential. We look at the 7 deadly sins. Well, really, it should be the 6 deadly sins with the root cause. I mean, you know what I mean?
And they all stem from pride. Now, and that's it. I wonder if we just don't fully understand the definition. Not the definition, but what really is pride. Maybe that's the part of America where we have a lot of pride in country. We have a proud nation. We're proud in what we've accomplished.
So
pick you up by your bootstraps.
Self-reflecting. I think that I even have a little bit of pride, and not good pride, for my church. I believe my church is better than other churches. And my church doesn't deserve to have to deal with certain people, because we're a good church and we
don't associate with that.
I see myself like I could fall into that. Like that's me. Like I could be like, oh, this is my church. This is a good church. I mean, we talk about our church all the time. We talk about Scott all the time. And Scott would be like, hey, don't you do that. You say that right now.
He's the humblest man I've ever met.
But I could see it in even our churches. I could see it in our marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Man, look at my marriage compared to their marriage. It's a belittling of somebody else in order to puff out your chest.
I know that's something I struggle with because I like the applause. I live for the reaction.
And the more, like I said, a brother brought this up to me a week ago, and the more I reflect, the more I see. Man, I got a lot of pride. Man. So what's the danger of pride?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, so what is the danger?
Why is pride a big deal? Well, we're going to throw out a couple verses here and there. Like I said, there's a ton, and I strongly encourage listeners and viewers to search scriptures for themselves. But I'll give you a couple. Isaiah 2:11 through 12. Now, these are different. There's a context, there's stories here, but there's very important things that are said in these scriptures. So Isaiah 2:11 and 12. Human pride will be brought down, and human arrogance will be humbled. Only the Lord will be exalted on the day of judgment. So this is talking about the fall of Israel pending to happen. For the Lord of heaven's armies has a day of reckoning. He will punish the proud and mighty and bring down everything that is exalted. Now, even though that was the impending day of judgment coming, I believe this was Isaiah for the Assyrians or the Babylonians?
I couldn't even tell you, man.
I think he might be for the Babylonians. I think, I don't know. It's one of the two. Either
Jeremiah was Babylonian.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know he was. I can't remember. I think he was the Babylonians too. I think Isaiah was. I think they worked a little bit hand in hand, but I'm not 100%. I don't remember. 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't quote us.
Don't quote us. Yeah, but it's one of the two, I think. But I think this carries it. It's a lesson that we can learn. I mean, look at how God is talking about human pride will be brought down. Human arrogance will be humbled. Only the Lord will be exalted on the day of judgment. For the Lord of the heaven's armies has a day of reckoning. He will punish the proud and mighty and bring down everything that is exalted. Wow. Like, I mean, I look at our nation. America's strong. Like, I've been
Make America great again.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a bad slogan.
No, I'm just saying, like, I see so much pride, and it's unnecessary pride, and it's like we're the mighty.
Right.
Well, God says that he can bring down the mighty. Right, he does not like he was going to punish the proud. So, Proverbs 16:18 through 19. Pride goes before destruction, and haughtiness before a fall. Better to live humbly with the poor than to share plunder with the proud. I mean, these are just a couple of scripture, and like I said, the Proverbs are riddled with.
Can I just say I don't like these verses
because it makes you self-reflect?
Well, no, more just the fact of it's like. With my innate personality, and I'm not saying, this is the way I am so God can just get over it. But it's more of, I've always have struggled with a performance-based mentality. I am loved for what I do. I am loved for what I can accomplish. Like, there's nothing, and words of affirmation is one of my love languages.
Right.
So if you want, seriously, if you want to be my friend, just compliment me.
Right.
Just give me a little pat in the back.
Nice hair.
Thank you. The Bob Ross Pro will come back at some point.
I want to be your friend.
You can be my friend.
Yay.
You can be my friend. But with these conversations, it's one of those things where it's like, I like to look good. I like to give a good presentation. I like to do these different things. And it's like, I see it's better to live humbly with the poor. I don't want to be poor than to share splendor with the proud.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying my innate kick against the pricks. If they use the old King Jimmy with the Apostle Paul, why is it kicks against the pricks? I think is what is it?
I don't remember.
When just read the King James when was it Acts 8 when Jesus appeared to Saul on the road to Damascus. But just the fact of I know my innate desire is that's where my pride is I care very much on my personal appearance and my personal reputation. My reputation literally is everything to me. Yeah. And if you tarnish my reputation, I have a very hard time letting go of that and forgiving you for that. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general.
Right. And this is where I want to open it up. Like, I want to stop here and let's open this up for conversation. Let's really dive into the personal nuances of this because exactly everything you said, I struggle with. I like to be patted on the back for the good job that I did. And I take offense. So here's another thing. We shouldn't be easily offended. I take offense when I'm not recognized for the good job I do at work.
Oh, geez.
When I do something that I'll give you an example. So at my job, over the past year, I saved the company a lot of money. We'll just put it that way. And I didn't get the recognition. This is a couple weeks ago. I didn't get the recognition that I thought I deserved. And I was mad about it. I was angry about it. But what is that? It's pride. This is what God's like. God's like, there's so much pride in you. I'm like,
and I get that, yeah, because I'm gonna go back.
I don't want to be the one that gets destroyed and brought down and punished and done away with. And God resisteth it, if you want to use the King Jimmy.
Resisteth.
He resisteth the proud, but gives grace to the humble. I mean, I don't want to be that. I want to be God's child. I want to hear, again, performance-based, it almost seems like. So this is where we got to be careful, because what's our motivation? I want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. But why? Why? Well, prior to last week, it was because, well, I wanted to be recognized. I wanted to do things for God and God to recognize me. Well, now it's like, no, I just want to be your servant. Like, that's what, I just want to serve you. I don't, I want to be such a good servant. Like, that's all I want, is just to be a servant of yours. I don't care what happens.
Kind of like the prodigal son when he came back home. He's like, don't even make me a son. Just make me a servant.
Right. Yeah. Let me just serve. Let me wash your feet. That's what I'll do. Like, just let me do that and I'll be happy. You can have me in the pastures outside the pearly gates. I mean, just let me wash your feet. Like, I just want to serve you. And God has shown so much in my life, and I'm going to get a little personal here, is he's shown so much pride just in how I raise my children, how I minister to people sometimes. Sometimes I throw out big words that I'm not speaking to the level of person that I'm talking with. And that's not fair.
Feels good.
It's almost a boast. And I don't want to be boastful. God is showing me how much pride is in myself, but not just in myself, but in the church, in the American citizen, and all these things, because we become performance-based. We become high and lofty. We are America. We are the church. We send missionaries out, and we do this and this and this, and it can come from a prideful spirit. Now, I'm not saying it's all prideful, but there's a danger in that.
So can I ask you a question then to follow up on that?
Yeah.
We read in the Bible that specifically, like the musicians in the Old Testament, we're supposed to do everything excellent.
Right.
Whatever you do all to God's glory.
Right.
And when I sing, there's a reason why I don't have a microphone and I'm not leading the worship. So it's just like, bro, I heard you in the audience. I'm like, good. That's the closest you ever going to hear
Make
me
a
sing.
joyful noise.
That's
It doesn't say
gonna be
make a good sounding one.
But we want to do things well. We want to do things that, for church, I've talked with Soche. Soche talked about, he goes, we don't want to be a distraction in terms of like, you don't want to let someone, they love Jesus, their heart's in the right place, but they're distracting from worship. So we can't. Right. But we also don't want the showboater. And that's where the struggle with the modern church comes in. I know that some people kick against that, where it's like, we're not here to put on a show.
Right. But
the other thing, too, it's like, the followers emulate what the leaders do. So there's this very tender balance. And, I've seen a lot of good people who are very humble, who come to and approach that in a very, very humble way.
Right.
And this is why I really appreciate, this is going to sound really funny, but this is why I actually appreciate Phil Wickham, watching him lead worship. Half the time his eyes are closed and he's just playing on the guitar and worshiping Jesus.
That's what,
if you want to join with him, come on ahead, but I ain't playing for you.
I'm not going to try to puff Brandon Soche up, but this is one reason why I like Brandon Soche as a worship pastor, because most of the time his eyes are closed.
Right.
I mean, he's there to worship. He's there to make himself lower and help people exalt the name of God.
And this is where I know I don't want to go down this road. I know this is where some people have I say I don't want to go down, I don't want to go down, I want to leave it. But people have the struggle with, it's like, that's why we don't have electric guitars in the service. But even with the piano, in between each verse, our pianist always did a little
diddly,
gorgeous, where you're like, dang, you can play, Mrs. Schneider. Like, well, it legit, not Beth Schneider, but we had one of those at the other church, and she could play that. She could make that piano sing. It was a beautiful thing. But, and this is why I think it's such a dangerous fine line between doing everything to the best of our abilities to God's glory versus doing it in a prideful way.
Well, and
it seems like it's such a tightrope.
What's going to be more glorifying to God? Because that's what it's about. Is it going to be the 5-minute face melting guitar solo? Or is it going to be just an acoustic guitar and a cajon, acoustic set type of worship? I mean, I don't think you can say it has to be this or it has to be this. I think it has to be what's coming from the heart. What's the intent behind it? And that's the thing that I'm discovering, is that there are good things, and there are things that take away from the glory of God. And if I do a 5-minute face-melting guitar solo that's great, is it a distraction? Because I could say, well, I'm doing it for worship. This is how I worship God. Okay, that's great, but is it a distraction for others? This is where we have to love others, right? So even if you wanted to use the weaker brother argument, well, you're still, your brother is offended by that. Your brother was distracted. You took the brother's focus from God and you put it on yourself. So,
and this is where it gets hard too, because each person has a different opinion on what's good, what's not.
Oh, of course.
But going back into this pride and arrogance and the dangers and the pitfall, I think one of the dangers that we got to be careful of is the fact of, it can happen to anybody.
Right.
And it will happen to everyone. And a lot of times pride comes out of us looking bad in front of people.
Right.
You know?
So how do we overcome it? How do we overcome pride?
You get knocked off your high horse. Hurts a little bit. That's what happened to me and you.
There's many times when I've been hit and knocked off.
Yep.
But for some reason, pride keeps coming back. So obviously, I haven't learned my lesson.
Right.
So let's see what the Bible says. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. It says, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud. Man, that's strong right there. So it's not rude. It does not demand its own way, which is another form of pride.
Mm-hmm.
It is not irritable, and it keeps no records of being wronged. Man, this sounds like a lot of pride talk here, don't it?
Mm-hmm.
It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Man, if that don't speak straight up to pride, I don't know what it does. So what's it about? It's about love, right? It's about loving your brother. It's about loving and exalting your brother and building up your brother more than yourself. It's about loving God and looking to God more than looking to yourself.
And sometimes, and this is where it's interesting, is it's not irritable. It keeps no records of being wrong. In other words, you sometimes got to just suck it up and, take the humble pill. And you offended me, but I can't hold that to your account.
Right. Well, but we still have to be careful, because I can say, I really want to say something to Mark, but I'm not going to, because I know that's pride and I'm not going to do that. But man, I'm mad. And it's like, well, be careful, because that can turn into pride. And even though it's all about the heart, you could be prideful in your heart and not say anything at all. I can be hurt and holding stuff against them and being irritable, and holding that in the inside so they don't see it. But it's about, again, we don't want to be the whitewashed tomb. It's about the heart change. So how does that happen? Well, it's God. That's God, us begging God to change our hearts. This is part of the transforming and renewing of our minds. When we seek the face of God and we beg God, please change my heart, because I can't do it without you.
And, this kind of reminds me of Paul when he was in the jail at Philippi. When he wrote, not in Philippi, I'm sorry, he was in jail, and he wrote the letter to the Philippians, the church at Philippi. And
when he was in prison in Rome, I believe.
And he's like, I have begged God 3 times to remove this from me, and he hasn't.
Right.
And I've learned whether if I'm shipwrecked or if I am on cloud 9 or if I'm in prison or if I'm eating well or if I have no food, it doesn't matter. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And
you used it in context.
Thank you. And the Apostle Paul had the mindset, and I'm preaching to your boy right now. So it's like Paul had this mindset of, it doesn't matter what's going on as long as Christ's name is exalted and you are humbling yourself and knowing that, I can't do nothing right now.
Right.
Whether I have nothing or a lot, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And even the Apostle Paul, in a different part, people were like, oh, well, they're bashing your name and they're doing this. And the Apostle Paul's like, I don't care if they give me a bad name. Is Jesus being preached? Let's go.
Right.
Like, I don't care if my name is destroyed.
Right.
He even said, I wish I could suffer in hell for the rest of eternity if no one in Israel would have to ever go through that.
Right.
Like, the bro had so much humility that
and love.
That's so ridiculous.
Much love. That was his main message, was love.
Mm-hmm.
Love.
And Jesus is too.
But, do we see Paul praising himself? No, we see Paul defending his apostleship at times, but he never really lifts himself up past, hey, no, listen, I'm an apostle. And why? Why doesn't he lift himself up? Well, Proverbs 27:2 says, let someone else praise you, not your own mouth. A stranger, not your own lips. So
and I have a verse or an idea to come back to with the Apostle Paul of.
So we have
he said he was something, but wasn't.
Yeah.
But
so we have to look at this though, real fast. And
no. I'm saying later. I'm saying later, like
okay.
later in the episode.
So let's look at this for just a second. We're looking at, well, isn't that pride if I take a compliment? Well, there's a being humble and being able to take a compliment,
right.
and it's a very fine line on how to do that because you don't want to puff yourself up. You take it humbly,
right?
But you don't have to puff yourself up over it. But you should never be praising yourself or making yourself to look better, which is something I struggle with.
Right.
I struggle with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge thing.
You know, it's funny. You know, Mama taught me best, and she said, when someone compliments you, you say thank you and you move on.
Yeah.
That's what Mama taught me. She said, you say thank you and walk away.
But my problem is I can do that. I can say thank you and walk away.
And you go,
and then look
exactly.
at me. Man. Look at me. Yeah, look at that. They recognize that. Yeah.
Yep.
See? So we
it's
have
true.
to be
it's
careful.
true.
So we need to be humble. And Ephesians 4:2 says, always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. So this is where, like, if you're coming across as arrogant, man, I got to be humble and gentle. I got to check myself, like Galatians 6 says, if I'm going to deal with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to check myself. I need to be like, man,
check yourself before
I need
you
to deal with
yourself.
my heart and become humble, and then I can come to my brother in love and gentleness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a big thing. I mean, this next verse is a big one for me. This is the one that's hard, right? So it's James 4:6-10, and there's a point on verse 6 that he quotes the Old Testament.
Okay.
And I believe it comes out of Leviticus or Deuteronomy. He said, and he gives grace generously, as the scriptures say, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Man, that's such a strong thing, right? He opposes the proud. Opposes. What does that mean? If God opposes you, are you in a good standing? Is your salvation secure? I don't think so. Not if God's opposing you.
It's
So
a hard reality.
Not saying that you lose your salvation. I'm not trying to even remotely say that, but I'm just saying, man, if we carry pride with us, look at how serious God takes it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So continuing on, so verse 7, he said, so humble yourself before God. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. So he's talking about, right before this, he's talking about being prideful, right? And then he goes into humble yourself before God. So we're still talking about pride because humbleness is the opposite of pride.
Mm-hmm.
Resist the devil and he will flee from you. That's such a misquoted scripture, right? Because we're dealing with pride and humbleness, and people like to, resist the devil and he will flee from you. That's whatever. I got the devil's under my feet,
yep.
You know. But then right after he says resist the devil and so it's kind of I'm going to give, I'm going to take, I'm going to give. So he's saying do this so you don't fall into this. Do this so you don't fall into this. So we resist the devil and he will flee from you. So after we've humbled ourselves. Come close to God, and he will come close to you. Wash ye your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, for your loyalty is divided between God and the world. Let there be tears for what you have done. Man, let there be sorrow and deep grief. Let there be sadness instead of laughter, and gloom instead of joy. Humble yourself before the Lord, and he will lift you up in honor. Now, this is NLT version. That's why it probably sounds a little different to you.
No, I like it. No,
It's beautiful when you read it, and it's so gut-wrenching at the same time.
The fact that it's saying that let there be tears for what you've done. In fact, if that's how much we should know pride should hurt.
Pride is the destruction of us, right? We talked about it. It's the roots that lead to the fruits.
And this is interesting. You know, I was looking this up on my phone where in verse 7 it says, humble yourself before God, resist the devil, he will flee from you. The verse that instantly pops in my head, and maybe this is right, maybe this is wrong, I don't know. But when Jesus looked at Peter and said, get behind me, Satan. And everyone's like, well, why did Jesus call Peter Satan? And it's because Peter took Jesus aside and rebuked him.
Rebuked the Savior.
What bro is going to rebuke Jesus?
These things will not happen. I will not allow them.
This hasn't happened in The Chosen yet, has it? Have we gotten to this part?
No,
I don't think
yet.
so. That's probably going to be season 2. How many seasons are they doing?
They're doing, I believe, 8. I believe they're doing 8 seasons.
Well, dang.
So it's probably going to be
like
like season 7.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. But he rebuked Jesus, Peter, and Peter said, "Never, Lord. This will never happen to you." And he said, "Get behind me, Satan."
Right.
Because Jesus was this will never happen to you because you're the king, you're the Lord. And what did it say in Philippians? He humbled himself
right
to the point where he became a man, and then
I think it
died
goes
on the death on
beyond
the
that
cross.
because if we tie in what Peter says there to what Peter did in the garden, what did Peter do when they came to take Jesus?
He took out a sword and cut off
his ear. Why? It's pride. Peter was I'm going to defend you, Lord. I'm going to stand up for you. It's me. It's mine. It's not me.
And this is interesting. And then what was one of Jesus' last words to Peter? If you love me, feed my sheep.
Right.
If you love me, love my sheep.
Right.
And I'm thinking through this, and what's the most humble thing we could do? Is it maybe rather than demanding our rights, rather turning around and sacrificing our wants and needs for the benefit of others? Is that the easiest way to defeat pride? I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking about some of the pride that I had to deal with,
Welcome to the game show.
You suck. I was doing okay till we started talking about this.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
But this
I've been wrecked.
in the last couple years. Obviously, some people know about this. If there's someone out there in listener land who's gone through a divorce because of hard reasons, you know the pain that it is, and the thing that's hard about going through a divorce, specifically as a pastor, is what is this going to do to my ministry? What is this going to do to my reputation? What is this going to do to me? And there's a lot of humility that I've had to swallow over the years. But even in the midst of all this, I'm still wrestling with pride of I deserved better. I deserved this. I deserved that. And why do I have the wrestles that I have? Is it because I've been hurt, or is it because I'm still prideful, even in the midst of? Sorry, the cat jumped up. The cat wants to be petted. I'm sorry. He's jumping up and pawing at my hands. But, it's just I'm thinking through this, and it's like, how much pride do I have where even in the midst of, it's not being humbled, but even in the midst of that, how much pride I still have to focus on, I deserve this, I deserve that. Rather than, God, thank you that you're still here with me. Thank you for the blessings I've received because of this, even in the hard times.
It reminds me of bless those who curse you, show grace to those who despitefully use you. We're supposed to love our enemies. It's all this language of what we're supposed to do. And why do we struggle with that? Because they've wronged us and we deserve better. It comes back to the pride. I'm sitting here thinking about it right now. Like the times of my life that I've been so hurt and angry and haven't been able to love well, and have made enemies of people that really weren't my enemies because my pride was hurt. It's gut-wrenching. Truly is gut-wrenching. It's hard to swallow pride. It's hard to deal with pride. But I think the first step is recognizing that there's pride in your life and seeking God's face. Searching through his word. There's a lot of strong language of what, if we don't deal with our own sins, if we don't recognize our own sins, if we're proud, what happens? It scares me to death to a point of what I've done to the body because of my pride. What I've done to the work that Christ could have been doing in me because of my pride. I've let my pride get in the way. Could I have reached the sinner on the street had my pride not been affected? And I know God has everything in control, right? God's sovereign. So God controls it all. And if he wants a person saved, he's going to make sure they get saved. Man, I want to be a good, humble servant that obeys the master's voice. I want to be the sheep that follows, not the sheep that runs astray.
Or the sheep that tries to lead the other sheep.
Right. So,
yeah, I'm the quote popped in my head. It's funny. This has been attributed to C.S. Lewis, but it's actually not. It's a Rick Warren quote where humility is not thinking of yourself less. but thinking, or no, sorry, humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. A lot of people think C.S. Lewis wrote that in Mere Christianity, but that's actually a Rick Warren quote. But there's a beautiful quote, and I'll end all my closing thoughts with this one quote from, again, Mere Christianity. Apparently, I really love this book. I really do, though. I read it back in high school, and one of my teenagers still has one of my limited edition copies. I got to get that back. But in the book, this is what he had to say. He said, do not imagine that if you meet a really humble man, he will be what most people call, quote unquote, humble nowadays. He will not be a sort of greasy, swarmy person who is always telling you that, of course, he's a nobody. Probably all you will think about him is that he seemed to be a cheerful, intelligent chap. I love the word chap. Intelligent chap who took a real interest in what you said to him. If you do dislike him, it will be because you feel a little envious of anyone who seems to enjoy life so easily. He will not be thinking of humility. He will not be thinking of himself at all. If anyone would like to acquire humility, I think, tell him the first step. The first step is to realize that one is proud. And a bigger step, too, at least. Nothing whatever can be done before it. If you think you are not conceited, it means you are very conceited indeed. And, with that quote, it wasn't talking about, humility isn't the guy who's woe is me sitting in the corner, but it's the guy who literally, I thought this was really cool, was the fact of it was a really happy, cheerful, intelligent man, woman, whatever, chap who took a real interest in what you said to him. In other words, he was listening. He wasn't rushed. He wasn't worried. He wasn't demanding. He wasn't talking, but what was he doing? He was just sitting, listening to you. He was taking a real interest, looking you in the eye, and actually making you feel like you were somebody.
Wasn't preparing a defense or a rebuttal or a statement.
No, he was just chit-chatting and listening, not caring about if he got to say what he wanted to say or got to say. But it's hard, man. Pride is one of those things where I didn't like when we first started talking about this episode before we clicked record, I was like, man, I'm not really dealing with pride. I feel like I'm more so dealing with loss and dealing with shame and guilt and all the other things that go with it. And now I'm like, crap.
I found the root.
The root's pride, Neil. Hey, Counselor Neil, if you're listening, I may have found the issue.
Yeah, well, I'm right there with you, brother. I've got my own issues with pride. I don't know how to help you other than follow the scripture and cry out to God.
Yeah, that's all I got, dude. What you got? Close this thing out.
I'm just gonna read a quote from John Piper. He said, "Every good thing in the Christian life grows in the soil of humility. Without humility, every virtue and every grace withers. That's why Calvin said humility is first, second, and third in the Christian faith." And I don't think I can follow that up any better than the way he put that. Seek God's face, learn to be humble, learn humility. Try to figure out a way to get rid of the pride if you have it in your life.
And I appreciate your honesty in this one, bro.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to hold it together here.
Yeah,
don't make me cry.
It's a rough one, man. Well, hey, maybe someone's out there in listener land, and maybe you're sitting here thinking, you know what, Mark, you know what, Fuller, I think I'm dealing with a lot of pride too. And if that's you, let's be honest, we're all here together. That's not an excuse to be prideful,
right?
But that's the realization that we need community. And if you are one of those people who are struggling, we say it every time, but man, reach out to us. We've actually been connecting with a few of you on various different social media, some on Facebook and some on Instagram. We've been emailing back and forth with some people, and there's a lot of people out there that are stuck in the broken world, and we're dealing with the effects of sin every single day. And that's why community is so important. That's why brotherhood, sisterhood is so important. And even in community, now we're not the replacement for the church,
no,
but we're brothers and sisters in Christ.
Sometimes it's easier to talk to a brother that
doesn't know all your crap.
To seek advice. Sometimes it's easier. So if that's you, not that we want to try to be prideful over you or anything, but I think we both really we love people and we want to help any way we can, if we can help, or if you just want us to pray, just say Chris and Mark, Fuller and Mark, whatever
it is.
I just need prayer. Here's a situation going on. I just need prayer, and we'll pray with you. We'll pray with you. We'll pray for you. we love you. We love you, and God loves you. So, yeah.
You know, personally, I would love to end the episode right here, man.
Me too. It's such a somber moment.
It's a somber moment, but you know, we can't break the RTC tradition, though.
My kids would be upset if they didn't hear it.
They didn't hear their voice, so you think it's time to do it?
Sure.
Time for Fun Facts with Fuller.
All right, my dude. What do you got for us to end this wonderful, wonderful conversation on, man?
All right. I don't remember where I got this from because I just forgot to put the link in it. But here we go. In 1957, the BBC successfully pranked many of its viewers by successfully convincing them that Switzerland was currently enjoying a fantastic crop of spaghetti, a.k.a. the spaghetti trees.
What?
They thought that spaghetti was growing on trees in Switzerland.
Okay. I got so...
It was 1957, first of all.
But spaghetti is wheat, right?
Well,
it's grain.
Apparently, Switzerland grows it on trees.
But am I wrong? Like, you have some wheat and you grind it down, and then you got to press it, and then you got to... Like, isn't that what...
It's not just wheat. It could be... I mean... Well, yeah, it's wheat because that's what flour's made out of, isn't
right.
it?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean... It's a grain that's beaten down and turned into powder and made into a dough and cut up into a noodle.
I am Googling how to make homemade spaghetti noodles. What's the main...
It's flour. I know that.
Is flour the main ingredient?
Yeah.
My voice kind of cracked there a little bit.
It's flour. Trust me.
Flour is the main one, which is, so it's wheat. So
wheat.
Basically what I'm hearing is... I mean, we got a lot of our UK friends and family out there. We got some UK brothers and sisters. Y'all crazy.
The BBC done fooled.
Maybe
a lot of
BBC
people.
done fooled you. Now, let's be honest. BBC's done a lot of crazy things like Doctor Who, and we appreciate BBC for Doctor Who. But BBC, y'all...
Was it BBC that... No, it wasn't BBC. I was going to say that did the War of the Worlds broadcast back in the early 20s.
I don't even know, bro.
You don't remember? Oh,
I don't know.
That. Anyways.
No, but
George
either way,
Orwell.
so the BBC done hoodwinked everybody with spaghetti trees.
In 1957.
That's a fun fact.
It is a fun fact.
It's a really fun fact. But you know what's even more fun fact?
What's that?
There's just a little bit time left to order your RTC winter snowflake line before we rip it from the store.
And it may never come back again. We may have a different design. So this is like
this
limited
is edition, man. We may have a throwback in a few years from now.
Maybe.
But this might be the last time to get it. Long sleeve hoodie or sweatshirt. Or you can get the RTC big logo, RTC little logo, or the, what is it?
You can get the
Laugh.
Laugh and drink coffee.
Live life, laughed often, drink coffee.
Yeah.
I like that one. That's my personal favorite.
You can get leggings. You can get tote bags. You can get gaiters.
Face masks.
Face masks.
That's it. Short sleeve, long sleeve, woman cut, dude cut. All the things in the merch store, people.
Everything.
RealTalkChristianPodcast.com. Hit that store icon up there in the top, and it'll get you to where you need to go. And at the website, you can find all of our other social media handles, email, phone number, all that sort of fun things. But, hey, guys, we love you. Thank you again for listening. But until next time,
Take it easy.